consider, for a moment, the sheer absurdity of it all. In a world governed by survival, where finding food, escaping predators, and conserving energy are paramount, nature has designed an act that is notoriously risky, energetically costly, and often distracting. It can expose us to danger, transmit disease, and consume valuable time and resources. And yet, it is paired with perhaps the most intense, compelling, and sought-after sensation our bodies can produce: pleasure. Not a mild satisfaction, but a neurological fireworks display so potent it can override logic, reshape priorities, and create lifelong bonds. This is not an accident. It is evolution's most ingenious, and perhaps most ruthless, masterpiece. The reason sex feels overwhelmingly good is not a celebration of the individual, but a biological commandment written in the language of dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, a commandment with a single, unyielding purpose: to ensure you do it again and again until the genes you carry leap into the future. To understand this is to pull back the curtain on the very engine of human existence, revealing a story of manipulation, reward, and profound evolutionary strategy that has shaped not just our bodies, but the core of our psychology and societies. The reality of why we are driven by this pleasure is more complex, more mechanical, and far more shocking than a simple quest for hedonism. It is a tale written in our DNA. Part 1. The biological machinery of bliss. To comprehend the why, we must first dissect the how. The pleasurable sensation of sex is not one single experience, but a symphony of physiological and neurological processes, each stage carefully tuned by evolution to reinforce the act. 1.1. The neurological orchestra, reward pathways and neurochemicals. At the heart of sexual pleasure lies the brain's mesolimbic reward pathway. This is the same circuit that reinforces life-sustaining behaviors like eating and drinking. When activated, it releases a flood of neurotransmitters, creating feelings of desire, pleasure, and reinforcement. Dopamine, the molecule of desire and anticipation. Often mislabeled as the pleasure chemical, dopamine's primary role is more about motivation, anticipation, and reward-seeking. It surges during the pursuit and anticipation of sex, driving libido, focus, and a willingness to take risks. It's the wanting signal that compels action, making the goal feel not just desirable, but essential. Oxytocin, the bonding agent. Released during intimate touching, kissing, orgasm, and especially in the afterglow, oxytocin, often called a cuddle hormone, promotes feelings of attachment, trust, and bonding. In evolutionary terms, this was crucial for pair bonding, encouraging partners to stay together long enough to raise vulnerable offspring. It transforms a physical act into an emotional connection, a powerful incentive for repeated interaction with the same partner. Endorphins, the natural opioids. These are the body's internal painkillers and mood elevators. Released during physical exertion and at climax, they create feelings of euphoria, well-being, and relaxation. They mitigate any minor discomfort associated with the act and contribute to the famous post-coital glow. Serotonin, the regulator. Levels of serotonin, a key mood stabilizer, fluctuate with sexual activity and orgasm. Its complex interplay helps regulate mood and satiety, contributing to the profound sense of contentment that follows. Prolactin, the pleasure brake. Released post-orgasm, prolactin induces feelings of satiety and relaxation, and in females, supports lactation. It is responsible for the refractory period in males, a temporary decrease in sexual interest. This serves a biological function. It prevents constant mating, conserving energy, and, in a polygamous context, potentially allowing a male to disengage and seek other mates after ensuring fertilization. 1.2. The peripheral nervous system, the body's sensory network. The brain's symphony needs instruments. These are the specialized nerve endings throughout the erogenous zones. Free nerve endings and encapsulated receptors, The genitals, particularly the glands penis and clitoris, are densely packed with sensory receptors like Meissner's corpuscles for light touch and Pacinian corpuscles for deep pressure and vibration. The clitoris, with over 8,000 sensory nerve endings, nearly twice that of the penis, exists primarily for pleasure, a stunning testament to its evolutionary importance in encouraging female sexual engagement. The vagus nerve, this cranial nerve, often overlooked, bypasses the spinal cord and can be directly stimulated during sex, contributing to feelings of pleasure, connection, and even the elusive cervical orgasm reported by some. Spinal reflexes, the psychogenic erection, initiated by thought, and reflexogenic erection, initiated by touch, involve complex spinal cord reflexes, demonstrating that pleasure circuitry is embedded at multiple levels of the nervous system. 1.3 The cardiovascular and endocrine cascade. Sex is a full-body workout. Heart rate and blood pressure rise, breathing quickens, and blood is shunted to the genitals and skin. This heightened state of arousal amplifies sensations. The endocrine system releases steroids like testosterone, which fuels desire in all genders, and estrogen, which influences lubrication and sensitivity. This systemic involvement ensures the experience is immersive and physically compelling. Part 2. The evolutionary imperative. Why pleasure is the ultimate enforcer. Here is where the mind begins to truly be shattered. Evolution does not care about happiness in the abstract. It selects for traits that maximize reproductive success. Pleasure is the currency it uses to pay us for behaviors that enhance genetic propagation. Every aspect of sexual pleasure can be seen as a solution to a specific reproductive challenge. 2.1 Solving the problem of motivation. For early humans, survival was a full-time job. Sex is, from a purely survivalist viewpoint, a distraction. The immense pleasure attached to it is the evolutionary override code. It ensures that despite danger, fatigue, or competing needs, the drive to mate is powerful enough to act. It transforms a biological imperative from a chore into an irresistible compulsion. 2.2 Solving the costly gamete problem, the asymmetry of investment. Biologist Robert Trivers' theory of parental investment is key. Females produce few, large, energetically expensive eggs and incur the enormous costs of pregnancy and lactation. Males produce millions of small, cheap sperm. This asymmetry creates different evolutionary pressures. For males, lower investment, the primary evolutionary pressure is to fertilize. The pleasure system is tuned for pursuit, novelty, and frequency. The intense, acute pleasure of orgasm and ejaculation is a clear reward for the act of insemination. For females, higher investment, the pressure is to select a high-quality mate and secure resources for offspring. Female pleasure is often more complex, involving slower buildup, multiple pathways to orgasm, and a strong emphasis on the bonding effects of oxytocin. This encourages selectivity, pair bonding, and repeated mating with a partner who shows signs of being a good provider/protector. The female orgasm may even serve a potential, though debated, function in sperm uptake and retention. 2.3 Solving the pair bonding problem. Human offspring are uniquely altricial, born helpless and requiring years of care. Raising them successfully often requires cooperation between parents. The neurochemical cocktail of sex, specifically the oxytocin and vasopressin release that fosters bonding and attachment, creates a glue that helps keep partners together. The shared pleasure becomes a reinforcing mechanism for the partnership itself, directly linking intimacy to coalition building for child rearing. 2.4 Solving the sperm competition problem. In a context where females might mate with multiple males, evolution has shaped male physiology to compete inside the female reproductive tract. The pleasurable thrusting and ejaculation are not just about deposition, but about displacement. Seminal fluid contains compounds that can temporarily reduce female libido, monopolizing her time, or even form copulatory plugs. The male orgasm's intensity ensures a vigorous, whole-body expulsion to get sperm as close to the egg as possible in this biological race. 2.5. The clitoral enigma, a masterpiece of byproduct or adaptation. The female clitoris, with no direct role in reproduction except pleasure, is a focal point of evolutionary debate. Is it a byproduct of shared fetal development? The clitoris and penis develop from the same embryonic tissue? Or a direct adaptation to encourage female mating frequency, promote pair bonding through oxytocin release, and even confer a selective advantage by strengthening pelvic muscles? The sheer density of nerve endings suggests its pleasure-providing function is under strong positive selection. Its existence underscores that female sexual enjoyment is not a side effect, but a central feature of human evolution, crucial for ensuring female willingness to engage in the costly act of reproduction. Consider this. If orgasm was merely a reproductive reward, why do females experience it so variably and from non-coital stimulation? And why do males experience a refractory period that limits immediate refertilization? The answers point to a system fine-tuned for complex social and evolutionary goals beyond mere conception. Part 3. Beyond procreation, the social and psychological layers. Evolution strategy worked so well that the pleasure system it built has taken on a life of its own in the human psyche and society. 3.1. The hijacking of the reward pathway. The same dopamine-driven pathway that rewards sex is vulnerable to hijacking. This is the mechanism behind pornography addiction and some compulsive sexual behaviors. We have discovered how to simulate the cues of sexual reward, novelty, anticipation, without the act itself, leading to a modern dysregulation of this ancient system. 3.2. Sexuality, identity, and culture. Because sexual pleasure is so powerful, it has become a cornerstone of human identity, art, morality, and social structure. Taboos, rituals, marriage institutions, and artistic expression are all, in part, attempts to channel and control this potent biological force. The feeling is so profound it has spawned philosophies and religions seeking to either transcend or sanctify it. 3.3. The pleasure-pain paradox and edge behaviors. The brain's pleasure and pain circuits are intimately linked. This explains the phenomenon of arousal non-concordance, where physical arousal doesn't match mental desire, and the existence of consensual BDSM practices. The system is complex and can, under certain psychological frameworks, interpret intense stimuli in novel ways. Suspense-driven question for audience engagement. Given that our pleasure circuitry evolved in a world without artificial stimulation, do you believe the modern human's ability to access limitless sexual imagery and novelty through technology is ultimately a healthy expression of this ancient drive? Or is it a form of evolutionary mismatch that our brains are fundamentally unequipped to handle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Part 4. The mind-shattering implications. Seeing ourselves anew. This is the shattering realization. When you understand that sexual pleasure is a sophisticated biological enforcement mechanism, it changes how you view human nature. We are not designed for happiness. We are shaped for reproductive success. Pleasure is a tool to that end. The pursuit of pleasure can lead to happiness, but also to obsession, addiction, and poor life choices if not understood in context. Free will versus biological imperative. How much of our romantic and sexual choice is a conscious decision, and how much is the culmination of neurochemical whispers shaped by millions of years of natural selection? The feeling of agency meets the reality of deep biological programming. The meaning of intimacy, the bonding fostered by oxytocin, is a real, powerful physiological process. This suggests that emotional intimacy is not a cultural invention, but is baked into our biology through the mechanics of pleasure. The deepest human connections are, at a chemical level, linked to our reproductive strategy. A unified theory of human drive. The quest for sexual pleasure can be seen as part of the same spectrum as the quest for status, resources, and creative achievement. All are, at their evolutionary root, strategies to enhance survival and reproductive fitness. The feeling that powers romantic love and artistic passion shares a common ancestor with the drive to eat and compete. Conclusion: the Prophist Symphony. So why does sex feel good? It feels good because our ancestors, for whom it felt just good enough to repeatedly mate and raise offspring, are our ancestors. Those with weaker drives left fewer descendants. Over eons, this feedback loop tuned the system to an extreme of reward. The pleasure is a biological carrot of unimaginable potency, ensuring the perpetuation of life. It is a feeling that has launched wars, inspired cathedrals, fueled empires, and defined personal tragedies and triumphs. To understand it is not to reduce love or passion to mere chemistry, but to appreciate the profound, awe-inspiring machinery that underlies the most human of experiences. The mind is not shattered by a reduction of our loftiest feelings, but by the breathtaking complexity and sheer effectiveness of the natural world's design. We are walking, talking vessels for genes that have mastered the art of motivation, using pleasure as their primary language. Listening to that language, understanding its grammar and its purpose, allows us to navigate its power with greater wisdom, compassion, and self-awareness. The symphony of neurotransmitters, the intricate anatomy, the deep evolutionary pressures, all converge to create a moment of connection that feels transcendent. And in a way, it is the transcendence of the individual, a momentary escape from the solitary self, orchestrated by the relentless, creative, and utterly pragmatic force of evolution. Call to action. If this journey through the biology and evolution of pleasure has changed how you think about what it means to be human, there's so much more to explore. Subscribe to the channel for deep dives into the hidden forces that shape your mind, your body, and your world. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an exploration that challenges everything you think you know. See you in the next video.